A broke single mom meets her first love at the airport. A handsome black man she doesn't know is a CEO millionaire. The fluorescent lights of Denver International Airport buzzed overhead as Haley Brennan clutched her 6-year-old daughter Emma's hand, both of them exhausted from their delayed flight from Phoenix. At 29, Haley was a far cry from the carefree college student she'd once been. Blonde hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing discount store jeans and a faded sweater, carrying everything they owned in 2 worn duffel bags. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Emma whispered, tugging on Haley's sleeve with the persistence only a tired child could muster. "I know, sweetheart. Let's find somewhere cheap to eat, okay?" Haley checked her wallet. $47 remaining after their one-way tickets to Denver, where she hoped to start fresh after her divorce from Brandon. Whitfield had left her with nothing but debt and broken dreams. As they walked through the crowded terminal, Haley's eyes scanned the food court for the most affordable option. That's when she saw him, standing near Gate B24, checking his phone with the kind of confident posture she remembered from 15 years ago. Her heart stopped. Terrence Mitchell looked exactly like her first love from Colorado State University, but impossibly better. Taller than she remembered, wearing an impeccably tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, and carrying himself with the kind of success that radiated from every gesture. His dark skin had a healthy glow that spoke of regular exercise and excellent nutrition, and his smile as he talked to someone on a Bluetooth earpiece was the same one that had made her fall in love during their sophomore year. "Terry?" Haley called out before she could stop herself, her voice barely audible over the airport noise. He turned, and 15 years melted away in an instant. His brown eyes widened with recognition, then lit up with genuine joy. "Haley? Haley Brennan?" Terry ended his call and walked toward them, his expression shifting from business mode to something warm and personal. "I can't believe it's you." "It's actually Haley Brennan again," she said with a self-conscious laugh, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "I'm divorced now, and this beautiful young lady must be your daughter." Emma had been watching this interaction with typical 6-year-old curiosity. "Are you the boy Mommy used to date in college?" Both adults laughed at Emma's directness, breaking some of the initial awkwardness. "Emma, this is Terry. He's an old friend from when Mommy went to school here in Colorado." "Nice to meet you, Emma," Terry said, crouching down to her eye level with a kind of natural ease that suggested he was comfortable around children. "Are you and your mom visiting Denver?" "We're moving here," Emma announced before Haley could respond. "Mommy says it's going to be an adventure." Terry looked up at Haley with questions in his eyes, but she felt too embarrassed to explain their desperate circumstances to someone who was so obviously successful. Airline employee Sofia Rodriguez approached them with a warm smile. "Excuse me, folks, but I couldn't help overhearing. Ma'am, are you waiting for baggage claim? Because your flight from Phoenix had some luggage delays." "Oh no," Haley said, her stress immediately visible. "How long?" "About 2 hours, unfortunately. Weather delays caused a backup in the system." Terry noticed Haley's barely concealed panic at this news. 2 hours in an airport with a tired child and very little money was clearly a problem for her. "Haley, why don't you and Emma join me for dinner while you wait? There's a great restaurant here and we can catch up." "That's very kind, but we're fine," Haley said quickly, pride warring with desperation. "Mommy, I really am hungry," Emma said loudly enough that several nearby travelers turned to look. "Please," Terry said gently. "It would be my pleasure. I was going to eat alone anyway, and 15 years is a lot of catching up to do." Patricia Wong, Terry's executive assistant, appeared at his side, carrying a leather briefcase and tablet. She was an efficient-looking Asian woman in her 40s who clearly managed Terry's schedule with military precision. "Mr. Mitchell, the car is waiting, and you have the board dinner at 8, Patricia reminded him discreetly. "Cancel the car, Patricia, and push the dinner back an hour. Tell them I ran into an old friend." Patricia's eyebrows rose slightly. She'd worked for Terry for 5 years and had never known him to change his schedule for personal reasons. "Of course, sir. Should I make reservations somewhere specific?" "Antonio's, here in the airport. Party of 3 and make sure we get a quiet table. As Patricia walked away to make arrangements, Haley felt increasingly uncomfortable. Terry's assistant, his expensive clothes, his casual ability to move dinner meetings, everything suggested a level of success that made their reunion feel surreal. Terry, you really don't have to. I want to. Come on, let's get Emma something to eat. Antonio's Ristorante was an upscale Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet corner of the airport, far removed from the chaos of fast food courts and gate areas. Owner Antonio Ricci greeted Terry by name, clearly recognizing him as a valued customer. Mr. Mitchell, welcome back. Your usual table? Perfect, Antonio. And we'll need a children's menu for the young lady. As they settled into a corner booth with Emma coloring on her kid's menu, Haley felt increasingly out of place in the elegant setting. The prices on the menu made her stomach clench. Appetizers cost more than she typically spent on groceries for a week. Order whatever you want, Terry said, noticing her hesitation. It's on me. Terry, I can't let you pay for our dinner. This place serves great food, and I'm excited to catch up with an old friend. Please don't worry about the cost. Emma was less conflicted about the situation. Mommy, they have real pasta. Can I get the spaghetti with meatballs? Of course you can, sweetheart. As they ordered, Emma's spaghetti, Haley's modest chicken Caesar salad, and Terry's veal marsala, Haley found herself studying the man her first love had become. In college, Terry had been ambitious, but struggling, working 2 jobs to pay for school while pursuing his business degree. Now, he radiated success in ways that went far beyond expensive clothes. So, what have you been up to for the past 15 years? Haley asked, genuinely curious about the transformation. After graduation, I started a tech consulting company. Nothing fancy at first, just me and a laptop, helping small businesses with their computer systems. But it grew faster than I expected. That's wonderful. You always were brilliant with technology. Terry smiled at the memory. You were the one who convinced me to take that advanced programming class. Remember? Said I was too smart to waste time on easy courses. You remember that? I remember everything about our time together, Haley. The comment hung between them, loaded with 15 years of unfinished history. They'd been inseparable for 2 years in college, studying together, dreaming about their futures, planning a life that seemed inevitable until Haley's father had been transferred across the country during their senior year, forcing her to finish school at a different university. What about you? Terry asked. What brought you back to Colorado? Haley hesitated, then decided honesty was better than pretense. I'm starting over. My marriage didn't work out, and I needed a fresh start somewhere with better job opportunities. What kind of work do you do? I was a marketing coordinator for a small company in Phoenix, but she trailed off, not wanting to admit she'd been laid off when the company downsized. I'm looking for something new. Terry sensed there was more to the story, but didn't push. Marketing coordination is good experience. There are lots of opportunities in Denver. I hope so. We're staying at a budget motel until I can find work and get an apartment. Emma looked up from her coloring. The motel has a swimming pool, but Mommy says it's too cold to swim. Maybe when it gets warmer, Terry said with a smile that made Emma beam. As dinner arrived, Patricia Wong appeared tableside with discreet efficiency. Mr. Mitchell, I've rescheduled your dinner to 9:30, and the car will pick you up at 9:15. Also, Lawrence Thompson called about the Morrison Industries presentation tomorrow. Thank you, Patricia. Any problems with the schedule change? None at all, sir. The board members were very understanding. After Patricia left, Haley couldn't contain her curiosity anymore. Terry, what exactly do you do now? I mean, you have an assistant, board dinners, presentations. Terry realized he'd been deliberately vague about his success, not wanting to make Haley feel uncomfortable. I run a technology consulting firm. We help large corporations optimize their digital infrastructure. That sounds impressive. It's been good to me. We've grown quite a bit over the years. What Terry didn't mention was that Mitchell Technologies was one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country, with offices in 12 cities and annual revenues approaching $200 million. He was personally worth more than most people made in several lifetimes. But something about Haley's obvious financial struggles made him reluctant to flaunt his wealth. "Mommy, this is the best spaghetti ever," Emma announced, tomato sauce decorating her face in a way that made both adults smile. "I'm glad you like it, sweetheart." Terry watched Haley help Emma with her dinner, noting the patient gentleness that suggested she was a devoted mother despite their difficult circumstances. Her blonde hair caught the restaurant's warm lighting, and her blue eyes held the same intelligence and humor he remembered from college, though they now carried traces of stress and worry that hadn't been there 15 years ago. "Haley, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Are you okay? I mean, really okay. Not just making the best of things okay." The question was asked with such genuine concern that Haley felt tears prick her eyes. It had been months since anyone had asked about her well-being with real interest in the answer. "Some days are harder than others," she admitted quietly. "The divorce was difficult. Brandon wasn't the man I thought I married, and starting over as a single mother is scarier than I expected." "What was your ex-husband like?" Haley glanced at Emma, who was absorbed in her coloring again, then leaned forward slightly to keep her voice low. "Brandon was controlling, financially irresponsible, and had some pretty ugly opinions about people who were different from him. The final straw was when I realized I didn't want Emma growing up thinking his attitudes were normal. Different how? Different races, different economic backgrounds, different political views. He had this narrow view of who deserved respect and success." Terry felt a familiar tightening in his chest, the recognition of casual racism that he'd encountered throughout his business career. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that. The worst part was realizing I'd married someone whose values were completely opposite to mine. In college, I never would have imagined ending up with someone like that. People change, or maybe they hide who they really are until they think you're trapped. Maybe. But I'm free now, and Emma will grow up learning that people should be judged by their character, not their appearance or bank account." Terry looked at this woman, who'd been his first love, now struggling financially but still holding on to principles that mattered more than money. He felt the same attraction that had drawn him to her 15 years ago, but now it was complicated by the vast difference in their current circumstances. "Terry, can I ask you something now?" "Of course. Are you married? Kids?" "Neither. I came close a few years ago, but we realized we wanted different things from life." "What kind of different things?" "She wanted the lifestyle that money could provide, but wasn't really interested in the person providing it. I wanted someone who cared more about building something meaningful together than about social status or material possessions." "That sounds lonely." "Sometimes, but I learned that being alone is better than being with someone who doesn't see your real value." As dinner concluded, and Patricia appeared to remind Terry about his approaching meeting, both adults realized they were reluctant for the evening to end. "Haley, I know this might sound presumptuous, but would you be interested in having coffee sometime? I mean, if you're planning to stay in Denver for a while." "I'd like that," Haley said, meaning it more than she'd expected. "But I should warn you, my schedule is going to be pretty chaotic until I find work and get settled." "I understand. Here's my card. Call me when you're ready, even if it takes a few weeks." Terry handed her a business card, and Haley's eyes widened as she read. "Terrence Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer, Mitchell Technologies. CEO?" she said, looking up at him with new understanding. "Terry, you're not just successful, I'm still the same person you knew in college, just with better suits and more responsibilities." As they prepared to leave, Emma tugged on Terry's sleeve. "Mr. Terry, thank you for dinner. Mommy says it's important to thank people when they're nice to you." "You're very welcome, Emma. Your mom did a good job teaching you manners." Terry paid the check, while Haley helped Emma gather her crayons, both of them trying to process the implications of their unexpected reunion. For Haley, learning that her first love had become a CEO millionaire made their different circumstances feel even more dramatic. For Terry, meeting Haley again had awakened feelings he'd thought were safely buried in the past. "I'll walk you to baggage claim," Terry offered. "You don't have to do that. Your assistant said you have another meeting. Patricia can wait 5 more minutes." As they walked through the terminal, Terry carrying Emma when she got tired, Other travelers occasionally recognized him from business magazines or news coverage. A few nodded respectfully, clearly aware they were in the presence of someone important. "People know who you are," Haley observed. "Occupational hazard of running a large company. I try to keep a low profile, but business success sometimes comes with unwanted attention." At baggage claim, their 2 duffel bags appeared quickly, a stark contrast to Terry's expensive leather luggage that his driver would retrieve separately. "This is us," Haley said, lifting the heavier bag while Terry automatically picked up the second one. "Let me help you to your car. We're taking the airport shuttle to our motel." The casual mention of taking public transportation to a budget motel highlighted their economic differences in a way that made both of them uncomfortable. "Haley, please let me arrange a car for you. It's late, Emma's tired." "We're fine, Terry, really. At least let me carry your bags to the shuttle." As they waited for the airport shuttle, Emma fell asleep against Haley's shoulder, exhausted from their long day of travel. Terry watched Haley stroke her daughter's hair with infinite tenderness, thinking about how differently their lives had unfolded since college. "She's beautiful," Terry said softly. "You're doing a great job with her. Some days I'm not so sure. Single parenting is harder than I imagined. From what I can see, she's lucky to have you as her mother." When the shuttle arrived, Terry helped load their bags and made sure they had everything they needed. "Call me," he said, handing Haley his business card again. "I mean it. I will. And Terry, thank you for dinner, for being so kind to Emma, for—" She searched for the right words. "For what?" "For making me remember what it feels like to be around someone genuinely good." As the shuttle pulled away, Terry stood in the airport pickup area, watching until the taillights disappeared. For the first time in years, his carefully ordered life felt incomplete without someone else in it. 3 days after their airport reunion, Haley sat in the cramped motel room she was sharing with Emma, staring at Terry's business card while her daughter watched cartoons on the outdated television. She'd spent the morning applying for jobs online using the motel's spotty Wi-Fi, but most positions required local references or experience she didn't have. Her phone rang. Her best friend Jessica Coleman calling from Phoenix. "Hey, Jess," Haley answered, keeping her voice cheerful for Emma's benefit. "How's Denver treating you? Find any good job prospects yet?" "I'm working on it. There are lots of opportunities here." "Haley, you don't have to pretend with me. How are you really doing?" Haley moved to the tiny bathroom for privacy. "It's harder than I expected. Everything costs more than I budgeted, and employers want local experience I don't have." "What about that old boyfriend you ran into at the airport? You said he was successful." "Terry. And successful is an understatement. He's a CEO millionaire." "Holy cow. Did you call him?" "Jess, I can't call him. Do you understand how different our situations are? He probably spends more on lunch than I have in my entire checking account." "So what? You guys had real feelings for each other in college, right? That was 15 years ago. We're completely different people now. Are you? Because from what you told me about dinner, it sounds like he's still the same thoughtful guy who just happens to have money now." Before Haley could respond, Emma called from the other room. "Mommy, there's a man at the door." Haley's heart raced. Unexpected visitors at budget motels were rarely good news. She looked through the peephole and was shocked to see Terry standing outside, holding what appeared to be a large shopping bag. "Terry?" she said, opening the door. "What are you doing here?" "I brought Emma something," he said, holding up the bag. "And I wanted to see how you're settling in." Emma bounced off the motel room's faded bedspread. "Mr. Terry, did you bring me a present?" "I brought you some books," Terry said, pulling out a collection of children's stories. "I thought you might like something new to read." "I love books. Mommy reads to me every night." Haley noticed that Terry's expression shifted as he took in their accommodations. The stained carpet, flickering light fixture, and general atmosphere of a place people stayed when they had no other options. "Emma, why don't you look at your new books while Mommy and I talk outside?" Haley suggested. On the motel's concrete walkway, away from Emma's ears, Terry's concern was evident. "Haley, you can't stay here. This neighborhood isn't safe, and that room is what we can afford right now," Haley said defensively. "It's temporary." I could help you find something better. There are corporate housing options, extended stay places that... Terry, stop. I appreciate your concern, but I can take care of my daughter and myself. I know you can. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Terry was quiet for a moment, struggling with how to express his feelings without sounding condescending. It's about caring what happens to you and Emma. It's about wanting to help because 15 years ago you meant everything to me, and seeing you again has made me realize those feelings never really went away. Haley felt her heart skip at his honesty. Terry, I'm not trying to rescue you or take control of your life. I just want to make things easier while you get back on your feet. And what happens after that? When I have a job and an apartment and we're not from such different worlds anymore? Then maybe we find out if what we had in college was real enough to survive 15 years and very different circumstances. Before Haley could respond, her phone rang. The caller ID showed her ex-husband's number. I should take this, she said apologetically. Haley, Brandon Whitfield's voice carried its familiar tone of irritation and entitlement. I've been trying to reach you for days. What do you want, Brandon? I want to know where you took my daughter. You can't just disappear to another state without discussing it with me. Emma is my daughter, and I have full custody. I told you we were moving. To Denver. Why Denver? What's really going on? Haley glanced at Terry, who was standing nearby but trying to give her privacy. I'm starting fresh somewhere with better opportunities. Better opportunities? Or are you running from something? Or maybe running to someone? Brandon, I don't owe you explanations about my personal life. You do when it involves my daughter. Who are you with? I'm not with anyone. I'm building a better life for Emma. Right. Well, don't think you can just disappear. I have rights, and I'm going to exercise them. After Brandon hung up, Haley stood quietly for a moment, processing the call's implications. Terry waited patiently, recognizing that something significant had just happened. Ex-husband trouble? Terry asked gently. He's upset that we moved. Makes threats about his parental rights when it's convenient for him. What kind of threats? The kind designed to control me through Emma. Brandon never wanted to be a full-time father, but he hates the idea that I might be independent. Has he ever been violent? Not physically, but emotionally. Brandon could make you feel like nothing without raising his voice. Terry felt anger building at the idea of anyone treating Haley that way, but he kept his voice calm. Is he likely to cause real problems? I don't know. He never wanted custody before, but he might pursue it just to hurt me. Haley, if you need legal help, I can't afford legal help, Terry. That's part of why I'm in this situation. What if cost wasn't an issue? What if you could afford the best family law attorney in Colorado? But I can't afford that. But what if you could? Haley looked at Terry with growing understanding. You're talking about giving me money. I'm talking about investing in someone I care about. Terry, I can't take money from you. That would make me dependent. And dependency is what I'm trying to escape. It would make you someone with options instead of someone trapped by circumstances. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching one of her new books. Mommy, can Mr. Terry read me a story? You said he was really smart in college. Both adults smiled at Emma's request, and the tension of their conversation shifted. Would you like to come in for a few minutes? Haley asked. Emma loves having stories read to her. Inside the modest motel room, Terry sat on the edge of the bed reading Charlotte's Web to Emma, while Haley organized their few belongings. Watching him with her daughter, patient, engaging, genuinely interested in Emma's questions about the story, Haley felt emotions she'd been suppressing since their divorce. Terry was everything Brandon had never been. Kind, without expecting anything in return. Successful without being arrogant. Strong without being controlling. But their circumstances made any relationship seem impossible. Mr. Terry, Emma said as the story concluded, are you going to be Mommy's boyfriend? Both adults froze at the 6-year-old's direct question. Emma, Haley said, embarrassed. You can't ask people questions like that. Why not? You smile different when he's here. Terry laughed at Emma's observation. Your daughter is very perceptive. I'm sorry. She doesn't really understand appropriate boundaries yet. Don't apologize. I like that she's comfortable enough with me to ask direct questions. As Terry prepared to leave, he turned to Haley with a serious expression. Think about what I said. About legal help, about better accommodations, about all of it. You don't have to make any decisions tonight, but please don't reject help just because of pride. It's not pride, Terry. It's self-respect. Sometimes, accepting help from people who care about you is the most self-respectful thing you can do. After Terry left, Haley tucked Emma into bed and sat by the window, processing the complexity of their situation. In the distance, she could see the lights of downtown Denver, where Terry probably lived in some luxury penthouse, while she was counting dollars for tomorrow's meals. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Terry. Dinner tomorrow. Emma mentioned she likes pizza, and there's a great family place downtown. Haley stared at the message for several minutes before responding. Can't afford downtown prices. His response came immediately. My treat. Please don't let money prevent us from spending time together. After another long pause, Haley typed, Okay, but somewhere casual. Perfect, I'll pick you up at 6. As Haley prepared for bed in the tiny motel room, she wondered if she was making a mistake by allowing Terry back into their lives. The emotional risk was enormous. Falling for someone whose world was so different from hers could leave both her and Emma heartbroken. But Emma's observation echoed in her mind. She did smile differently when Terry was around. For the first time in months, she felt like the woman she used to be, instead of just a struggling single mother trying to survive. Maybe that was worth the risk. The next evening, Terry arrived at the motel driving a modest Honda Civic instead of the luxury car Haley had expected. Emma noticed immediately. That's not a fancy car, Emma observed as they walked to meet him. I thought we'd take something more comfortable for a family dinner. Terry explained, helping Emma into the back seat where he'd already installed a child safety booster. You bought a car seat? Haley asked, surprised by the thoughtful gesture. I borrowed one from my neighbor's kids. Figured it would be safer than trying to make the seatbelt work properly. The restaurant Terry had chosen was Ricci's Family Pizza, a casual, noisy place filled with families and children, where Emma could be herself without worrying about disturbing other diners. The owner, Carlo Ricci, greeted Terry warmly. Mr. Mitchell, good to see you again. Your usual table? Perfect, Carlo. And we'll need some crayons for the young lady. As they settled into a corner booth, Haley realized that Terry's usual table suggested he came here regularly, despite his wealth and status. You eat at family pizza places often? She asked. More than you might think. Sometimes the best food and atmosphere come from places that focus on people instead of profit margins. Mommy, they have games. Emma had discovered the small arcade area near their table. Can I play after dinner? If you eat your vegetables, Haley agreed. Deal. As they ordered, large pizza with everything for the table, salad for Haley, and chocolate milk for Emma, Terry seemed more relaxed than he had during their previous meetings. You're different tonight, Haley observed. Different how? Less corporate. More like the Terry I remember from college. Being around you and Emma brings out the person I used to be before business took over my life. Their conversation was interrupted by Dorothy Mitchell, Terry's mother, who happened to be having dinner with her book club at a nearby table. Terrence, Dorothy approached with the kind of warm authority that only mothers possess. She was an elegant woman in her 60s, with silver hair and the bearing of someone who'd raised successful children through love and high expectations. Mom, what are you doing here? Book club dinner. We were discussing the new novel by that young author from Denver. Dorothy's attention shifted to Haley and Emma with obvious curiosity. And who are these lovely ladies? Mom, this is Haley Brennan and her daughter Emma. Haley and I knew each other in college. College friends. How wonderful. And this beautiful girl is your daughter? Emma looked up from her coloring. I'm 6, and Mr. Terry is reading me chapter books now instead of baby books. Dorothy's eyebrows rose with interest. Chapter books? That's very advanced for 6. Emma's quite bright, Terry said, his pride in the little girl obvious to anyone watching. I can see that. Haley, it's lovely to meet you. Terrence rarely brings anyone to family restaurants. It's nice to meet you too, Mrs. Mitchell. Please, call me Dorothy. Any friend of Terrence's is family. After Dorothy returned to her table, Haley looked at Terry with amusement. Your mother seems surprised to see you with a woman and child. My mother has been wondering when I'm going to settle down and give her grandchildren. Seeing me with you and Emma probably has her planning our wedding already. Terry, I'm kidding. Mostly. As dinner arrived and Emma dove into her pizza with 6-year-old enthusiasm, Haley found herself studying Terry again. The more time she spent with him, the more she saw traces of the young man she'd fallen in love with in college, the one who'd made her laugh during study sessions and dream about their future together. Can I ask you something personal? Haley said. Always. What happened to us? I mean, really happened? One day we were planning our senior year together, and the next day I was transferring schools. Terry was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Your father got transferred to North Carolina. You had to finish school there. But we could have made it work. Long distance for 1 year, then I could have moved back to Colorado after graduation. I wanted that. But you said it was better to make a clean break, that trying to maintain a relationship across the country would just make things harder for both of us. I was 21 and scared. I thought if we tried to stay together and it didn't work, we'd end up hating each other. I thought a clean break was more mature. And now? Now I think I was an idiot. I let fear make a decision that cost me the best relationship I'd ever had. Terry reached across the table and took her hand. Maybe we get a second chance to find out what might have been. Terry, look at our circumstances. You're a millionaire CEO. I'm a broke single mother staying in a budget motel. How could a relationship between us possibly work? The same way any relationship works. Two people care about each other and figure out the rest together. But the differences are just circumstances. They don't change who we are as people. Emma finished her pizza and looked up hopefully. Can I play games now? Go ahead, sweetheart. Stay where we can see you. As Emma ran to the arcade games, Haley and Terry found themselves alone at the table for the first time since reuniting. Terry, I need to tell you something. Okay, I'm scared of getting involved with you, of letting Emma get attached to you, of starting something that's doomed because of our different situations. What are you scared of specifically? I'm scared that you'll realize I don't fit in your world. I'm scared that Emma will fall in love with having you around and then be heartbroken when it doesn't work out. And I'm scared that I'll fall in love with you again and end up more broken than I already am. Terry was quiet for several moments, processing her honesty. Those are all legitimate fears, he said finally. But can I tell you what I'm scared of? What? I'm scared of not trying. I'm scared of letting you walk away again because we're both too afraid to see what we could build together. I'm scared that if I don't fight for this, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been. And Emma is part of loving you now. If I'm going to be in your life, I want to be in hers too. Not as someone trying to replace her father, but as someone who cares about both of you. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more in my life. Their conversation was interrupted by Linda Brennan, Haley's mother, calling from North Carolina. Mom, hi, Haley answered, stepping away from the table for privacy. Sweetheart, how are you settling in? Are you finding work? I'm working on it. Denver has lots of opportunities. And Emma, how is she adjusting to the move? She's doing well, making new friends. Haley, are you being completely honest with me? Because your voice sounds stressed. Haley glanced back at the table where Terry was helping Emma with one of the arcade games, both of them laughing at something on the screen. Actually, Mom, I ran into someone I knew from college, Terry Mitchell. Remember him? The business major you were so crazy about? The one who broke your heart when you had to transfer? I broke his heart too. And yes, that one. What's he doing now? He's successful, very successful. And I think I'm falling in love with him again. Oh, sweetheart. Is that a good thing or a complication? Both. When Haley returned to the table, Terry and Emma were engaged in an animated discussion about the best strategy for winning arcade tickets. Mr. Terry says if you aim for the corner pocket, you get more points, Emma explained seriously. Mr. Terry is very wise about arcade games, Haley agreed. Among other things, Terry added with a smile that made Haley's heart flutter. As the evening wound down and they prepared to return to the motel, Emma fell asleep in her car seat during the drive. Terry carried her from the car to the motel room, moving carefully to avoid waking her. "She's gotten comfortable with you very quickly," Haley observed, as Terry laid Emma gently on the bed. "She's an easy kid to love." "Terry, about what we discussed at dinner, about taking a chance on us, about all of it, I need some time to think." "Take all the time you need." "But Haley?" "Yes? Whatever you decide. Don't let fear be the only factor. We were good together once. We could be good together again." After Terry left, Haley sat in the motel room's single chair, watching Emma sleep and contemplating the most important decision of her adult life. Terry was offering her love, security, and a chance at the happiness she'd thought was lost forever. But accepting meant risking everything: her independence, her heart, and most importantly, Emma's emotional well-being. As she prepared for bed, Haley realized that for the first time since her divorce, she was thinking about building something instead of just surviving. Maybe that was worth any risk. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type ZO. We want to know what you think. A week later, Haley was finally making progress on her job search when Brandon Whitfield arrived unannounced at the motel. Emma was at a nearby daycare center where teacher Ms. Carol Jenkins had been wonderfully welcoming, giving Haley time to interview for positions without worrying about childcare. "Brandon?" Haley opened the door to find her ex-husband standing outside, wearing an expensive suit and the familiar expression of barely controlled anger. "What are you doing here?" "I came to bring my daughter home," Brandon said, pushing past her into the room. "This place is disgusting, Haley. You're living like a vagrant." "We're fine, and Emma is at daycare." Brandon looked around the modest motel room with obvious disgust. "This is what you call fine? My daughter's sleeping in some flea-infested motel while you chase whatever fantasy brought you to Colorado? Emma and I are building a new life here. You signed away custody rights, remember? I signed papers when I thought you were moving across town, not disappearing to another state to play house with some stranger." Haley felt cold dread in her stomach. "What stranger? Don't play dumb with me. I hired a private investigator, Haley. I know all about your new boyfriend, the rich black guy who's been paying for your dinners and hotel rooms. Terry is an old friend from college, and what we do together is none of your business. It is my business when it involves my daughter. Do you really think I'm going to let Emma be raised by some—" Brandon stopped himself, but his meaning was clear. "By some what, Brandon? Say it." "By someone who doesn't understand our family's values. Your family's values include racism and control. Those aren't values I want Emma to learn." Brandon's expression hardened. "I'm taking Emma back to Phoenix. Today. You have no legal right to take her anywhere. I have every right to protect my daughter from an unfit mother who's shacking up with strangers and living in poverty. Brandon, you need to leave. Now." "I'm not leaving without my daughter." Before the situation could escalate further, Terry arrived for their planned lunch date. He'd been picking Haley up every day for a week, helping her navigate the city while she searched for work and permanent housing. "Haley?" Terry knocked on the door. "Everything okay?" Brandon turned toward the door with obvious hostility. "Perfect. The boyfriend arrives." Haley opened the door to find Terry standing outside, immediately sensing the tension in the room. "Terry, this is Brandon, Emma's father." Brandon was just leaving. Brandon stepped forward, using his height advantage to intimidate. "So, you're the guy who's been buying my ex-wife's affection." "I'm the guy who cares about Haley and Emma's well-being," Terry replied calmly, not backing down despite Brandon's aggressive posture. "Convenient how you care about a broke woman with a kid. What's your angle? Feeling charitable toward the less fortunate? My angle is loving someone I've cared about for 15 years. 15 years? So this isn't some random pickup. You two have history." "We dated in college," Haley said. "Before I knew you. Before you knew me, but apparently not before you forgot him. Tell me, Haley, is this why you really left Phoenix? To reconnect with your college boyfriend?" "I left Phoenix because our marriage was over and I needed to build a better life for Emma." "A better life that conveniently includes a rich man to solve all your problems?" Terry had heard enough. "Mr. Whitfield, I think you should leave. I think you should mind your own business. This is between me and my ex-wife. Anything that affects Haley and Emma is my business. Really? And what gives you the right to insert yourself into my family? The fact that Haley asked me to be part of her life. Brandon turned back to Haley with renewed anger. So, that's it? You're choosing him over your daughter's father? I'm choosing someone who treats both Emma and me with respect. Something you never learned how to do. We'll see about that. Haley, I'm filing for full custody. No judge is going to leave a child with a mother who's living in motels and dating strangers. Brandon, you haven't seen Emma in 4 months. You've paid spousal support exactly twice. You have no legal standing. I have money for lawyers, Haley. Do you? The threat hung in the air like a challenge. Brandon knew that Haley's financial situation made fighting a custody battle nearly impossible. Actually, Terry said quietly, she does. Both Brandon and Haley turned to look at him. I've already arranged for Haley to meet with Diana Patterson, one of the best family law attorneys in Colorado, tomorrow morning at 10. You can't buy your way into my family, Brandon snarled. I'm not buying anything. I'm making sure someone I care about has equal access to justice. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Brandon said to Haley. You're letting this man control your life with his money. I'm letting someone who loves me help me protect my daughter from someone who wants to hurt us both. Love? Brandon laughed bitterly. You think this is about love? Haley, you're a charity case to him. A broke single mom with a sob story that makes him feel good about himself. That's enough, Terry said, his calm finally breaking. You need to leave. Or what? You'll have me thrown out by security? Call the police on the black man's behalf? I'll call the police because you're harassing your ex-wife and making threats about a child you've ignored for months. Brandon realized he'd overplayed his hand. This isn't over, Haley. I'll be back with lawyers and court orders, and we'll see how much your rich boyfriend cares when this gets expensive and complicated. After Brandon left, Haley sat on the motel room's bed, shaking from the confrontation. I'm sorry you had to see that, she said to Terry. That's who I was married to for 6 years. I'm sorry you had to live with that. But Haley, he's not going to take Emma from you. You don't know Brandon. When he wants something, he doesn't give up easily. Neither do I. And I want you and Emma to be safe and happy. Terry, you can't solve all my problems with money. I'm not trying to solve them with money. I'm trying to solve them with resources, legal help, and someone who cares about the outcome. Haley looked up at him through tears. Why are you doing this? Really, truly, why are you risking getting involved in this mess? Because 15 years ago, I loved a remarkable woman, and I was too young and stupid to fight for her when life got complicated. And now I'm old enough and smart enough to fight for what matters. What if Brandon is right? What if this is just charity disguised as romance? Terry sat beside her on the bed, taking her hands in his. Haley, look at me. She met his eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity and love. I have enough money to date anyone I want, anywhere in the world. I could have dinner with celebrities, socialites, or anyone else who'd be impressed by wealth and status. I know, but I'm here, in a budget motel, helping a struggling single mother fight her ex-husband for custody. If this was about charity or ego, don't you think I'd choose something easier and more glamorous? Maybe. I'm here because I love you. Not the memory of who you were, but who you are now. Your strength, your determination to protect Emma, your refusal to compromise your values, even when it's difficult. Terry, I'm here because Emma makes me want to be the kind of man who could be a good stepfather. I'm here because when I'm with both of you, I remember what happiness feels like. Haley felt tears streaming down her face. I love you too. But I'm scared that Brandon will make this so ugly that you'll decide we're not worth the trouble. Brandon can make this as ugly as he wants. You and Emma are worth any amount of trouble. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if you ever change your mind, you'll tell me honestly instead of just disappearing. I promise I'll never disappear on you again. But Haley, I'm not changing my mind. I'm in this completely. When Terry kissed her, it felt like coming home after 15 years of being lost. For the first time since her divorce, Haley felt truly safe. So, what happens now? She asked. Now we go pick up Emma from daycare, we have lunch together as a family, and we figure out the rest as we go. together, together. As they prepared to leave the motel, Haley realized that accepting help from Terry wasn't about dependency. It was about partnership. For the first time in her adult life, she had someone who wanted to build something with her instead of controlling her. It felt like the beginning of everything she'd always hoped for.